Hi, my name is Sean Shaler. I'm the handsome guy on the left, and then Jesse, co-host Jesse, not co-host, regular host Jesse, excuse me. I find a way to insult you every week, and I'm really sorry.
You
Regular host
do.
Jesse. I'm so sorry. I'm just a lowly producer. Please forgive me. That's Jesse in the middle, and it's a beautiful
Uh,
picture, Jesse. A tremendous picture. And then on the far right is a picture of our esteemed guest and our friend Tyler. He's going to be joining us for the next two episodes. This is PokéMalarkey, episode 12. And Jesse, I tried really hard to remember the title this week. I think this one's called Here Comes the Squirtle Squad.
you succeeded
I,
finally
I,
after 12 weeks. You finally got it.
He did get it
I,
right. I wrote it down because I was like, I got to know it because I know he's going to mess it up.
You know what's best is I didn't write it down this week because I was so like pissy at Jesse. It's like he makes fun of me because I don't use the notes I take, so I'm just not gonna take notes. But I mentally tried to cling to that one, and you'll notice that you just see.
Proud of you.
Thanks, I appreciate. I need that in my life sometime. No sarcasm. I need that people feeling good about me. You'll notice that we are not on video, and that is completely my fault. I'm in the middle of a nerd cave remodel, and it looks like Home Depot just crapped all over my room right now. So I'm not
For
ready to be on
instance,
camera.
for instance, everyone, Sean appears to literally be squatting on the floor. Uh, so that's where he is in
It's
his life.
basically like sitting on an upturned bucket, and it's so. I also don't have my good mic, so my audio is going to be crap. We got pictures instead of video, and I'm really sorry about it all, but we're still excited to be here. And Jesse and Tyler, thanks for putting up with my shitty accommodations. Tyler, we're really happy to have you here. And next time, we promise it'll be like with your face, your beautiful face on camera.
I'm I'm used to you fucking up, but Tyler, I'm
Tyler
sorry.
deserves better.
I
Jesse, you
mean,
kind of signed up for this.
I
I haven't made
did. I
myself
did.
presentable for months, so I'm glad I didn't have to because that was going to be the worst part of this.
um,
Welcome, Tyler. I'm glad
Thank
to
you for
have you
having
here.
me. I should say that, but I'm just like, just gonna say stuff instead of actually being appreciative for
Yeah,
you.
just shit on Sean instead of being
Yeah,
appreciative.
you
I
know what?
like it.
I would much
Oh, don't
rather
worry, your
listen
time
to
will
an
come,
entire.
Jesse.
I would.
No,
I would
no.
rather listen to 40 minutes of people just crapping on me for the sake of like comedy and feel good than I would anything I have to say. I
That's
personally
Sean's
have to say.
kink, actually. Sean really likes people just
That's what I was gonna say. That's I guess we're quickly changing topics to just we're gonna talk about
oh,
fetishes for the next 40
Just wait
minutes.
till next week when we get a Jesse or a James Boner joke in there. It's gonna be a good time.
yeah.
That'd be great.
Just
So,
you wait.
welcome. So, welcome, Tyler. Before we get started, Tyler, I just wanted to give you a really quick opportunity to. I know that you and your wife have started your own podcast. I thought maybe you'd like to plug that pretty quick.
Yeah,
Sure.
plug that.
People who are listening to this podcast probably all have no interest in our podcast at all, but it's called
That's fair.
the Real Keel Podcast. I know sometimes we keep names secret on here, but my last name is Keel.
I already said it, and I'm really sorry.
Keel.
I didn't
Oh,
mean
that's
to say
fine. Well,
it.
that's the name of our podcast. So I have to be careful about what I say on it. Anyway, we're going to talk about different subjects and try to put a positive spin on things and introduce a wisdom nugget at the end of each episode. So we've got one right now in an intro episode talking about kind of our life and why we're doing this. So that's
You guys, they're so delightful. We met Tyler and Hannah, his wife, who he's doing the podcast with, at our place of work, which is where they met, which is
which is what
very
we talked about in
cute.
the first episode, actually.
So
Yeah, if
you
you
should
listen to that
listen. It's
episode,
very
yeah, you get the whole
cute.
story. I thought your first episode was very lovely, and even though I've heard this story before, it was nice to hear it in like podcast. Like that made it real. It made it official to hear it on a
Yeah.
podcast. If it's on
Well, the next
YouTube,
episode's going to be really
it's
sad
true.
and depressing.
Oh
So,
no.
there's that.
Oh well, I'll probably just like it and thumbs up, and then not listen to
Oh
it if it's
no.
gonna make me
Yeah, that's
sad.
fine. That's fine.
But I'll leave a nice comment and a thumbs up.
No, it'll have a positive spin too, because that's the whole goal. I'm a pessimist, so I need this to be positive. Just like I need to be on this episode right now and hanging out with you guys
That's
virtually,
that's
because
really why we're here. Because 2020 sucks so bad.
right,
We got to plug
Right.
something in here that doesn't suck, and so we picked
exactly,
Pokemon, and that's
which is
where we
great.
are today.
That's where
It's
we are today.
So the Real Kill
Thank goodness.
podcast, I'll put that in the description. That's
Okay.
Real REAL Kill Keal podcast.
Yes.
You don't have to listen to me. I'll put it in the description. It'll be 10 times easier. And then before we get any farther into, I have to I'm really sorry. I got to do like two quick more plugs. And one is that I'm still plugging my charity event that I'm having on November 14th, raising food for harvesters, which is a food pantry. They're all over but in Kansas City. It's going to be a big deal. I'll put a link to that in the description as well. And I thought there was another thing I was going to plug, and I don't remember what it was, so it must not be
Sean
important.
is a very good person, guys. I am not
Really
one of those
is.
people, so we feel like we balance each other out well.
You,
Um,
you saying nice things is motivating to me to do good things, Jesse. So you're a good person vicariously. You're a second degree for a good
well,
person.
but I'm also the person who every time the cashier is like, "Would you like to round up to donate to this?" I'm like, "No, give me my change."
Okay, but that's fair because not all nonprofits are good. First of all, and second of all, I usually don't know what they're giving it to, and so I like knowing where the charity is going, and I did a lot of
Give me my
research.
12 cents, God damn it.
I have a soft spot for finding good nonprofits among the many that exist. It is important to me.
But thank you, Sean. Before we transition, I would like to point out one good thing about having Tyler on this podcast is that Tyler is, a lot of our guests have just been, fans of Pokemon, but Tyler is much more well versed in anime than just Pokemon. So he has a little more depth to him than a lot of our guests have, which is great.
Jesse, you have to be careful because my Pokemon knowledge is limited, but my other anime knowledge may be a little bit better. But
That I was gonna say
Perfect.
that sounded kind of harsh to. Didn't we have Neil on? Right? Like we've had
yeah,
Neil.
Neil's a way bigger weeb than me.
Absolutely, Neil.
Oh,
Neil, if you're
yeah.
listening to this,
Oh,
sup you weeb. I hope he's listening. Neil, I miss
I think
you.
I have a more
Neil,
robust.
Neil, sorry, I
background
forgot
than-
about you.
I'd hug Neil if he was here right now, COVID or not. Neil, I miss you, buddy. Um, yeah, Jesse, do you wanna lead in with some cool intro questions?
I do. So, Tyler, tell us the podcast is about Pokemon. So, tell us, why you got into Pokemon, what's been your journey with it? Where are you in your Pokemon life? Those kinds of things. Anything you have to share is great.
Okay. Let's start with where I am now. I would say it's basically dead to
Yeah,
me right now until you guys bringing it back into my life.
just like Sean and me. That's
I,
great.
I
It's a
think
great fit.
I had a common background to everyone else has been on here where we were all like the target age when it came out between like 8 and 10 years old. Where it seemed totally legit for this 10-year-old kid to be wandering the world by himself, abusing animals. I mean, catching Pokemon and training them. And anyway, I just had to throw that in there.
One of these
No.
weeks, we're gonna have a guest who finally is like, "Yeah, those Pokemon deserve it." It's gonna happen one of these weeks, where we'll be like, "Oh man, we should have
you
vetted our
know,
guests better."
you don't think about it when you don't think about it when you're a kid. It's just it's
I
fun.
don't want to think about it now. Quit
It's
bringing
fun.
it up.
That's it. That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say.
If we
But
could
anyway,
spend 30 minutes a week
Every
talking about it, we
goddamn
would.
week this coming.
you told me not to talk about it, so I had to talk about it.
It's okay.
That's
This week this week has nice things going along with it. So
It does. It does.
yeah.
Um. Anyway, yeah. So I think I was in like third grade or something. Everyone started talking about it. I got introduced that way. I was never able to watch the show consistently. I don't know why. I don't know if it just not having great access or not knowing when it was on or what. But liked it when I did. Learned about it through other people. I was living in a small northeast Kansas town at the time, and then I moved, and it was really popular there. Seemingly, I moved away, and there to a southeast Kansas small town, and nobody there liked Pokemon. You were a loser if you liked Pokemon. I think I probably fell off of it more starting then, and I got more into like the Toonami anime, like Dragon Ball Z and Gundam and
Sure.
Zoids and all that stuff that was going on. So I think my time with Pokemon was short-lived, but I stayed with it through like first generation stuff. Loved the movie. I watched the first movie over and over, which I suppose you're probably gonna ask me about favorite Pokemon at some point, and that's gonna play into that. But
Damn movie tears me up every time.
Every time.
I like the collectability of it, I guess, more than anything else. I had the red Pokemon handbook that you guys have talked about. Everyone had before. I had an electronic Pokédex. I had several different. I had a bunch of random cards. There were these like little 2-inch like talking Pokemon toys, and they each had a gimmick. And I had like an Eevee and a Pikachu and a Mew and a Togepi or something like that. And they would each do different things. Like some of them you like waved and they would talk and move. And um, so I don't know. I had just had a lot of stuff, and I remember it being a major. I had the poster that probably everyone had that had all 150, the original 150 on there, and I remember
Hung
it
on
being
my wall for
yeah, and it
several
was up there
years.
forever. And it's the accomplishment of once you actually learn all of them, and now I'm like, well, now I'm a piece of garbage because I don't remember half of them. I'm like, I know it, but I don't know it. So that's embarrassing.
One of these podcasts we're gonna see, Jesse, you and I, or whoever our guest is. Maybe we'll do it next time or something. Just how many of them we can name as a group. We'll give ourselves like 3 minutes and try to name as many of the original.
That's a fun idea.
151.
Next time we stream that, we should definitely do that. That would be a fun challenge.
Let's get super
I've
smashed
got
before
this.
we try too. It'll be great.
No, I've got this. Have you all seen probably the old BuzzFeed video, I think, where it was like a grandma and they were like showing her different Pokemon and just she asked to name them. And the best moment from this video is she's shown a picture of Charmander and she looks at it and she goes, Hamilton?
What?
That's the cutest thing I think I've heard all day.
On a not cute note, have you guys watched the Smosh episode for Pokemon Go?
Not for
That's a
Pokemon
huge
Go,
one.
but I watch almost every. I don't know how I haven't seen
You
it.
gotta find that one because they go through and name them all, and they have great names for them all.
My
Like,
favorite Smosh are the Pokemon ones. I don't know how I've missed Pokemon Go. That's so sad. What am
well,
I
you
I
doing?
gotta
don't
learn
know what
about
we're
it.
even talking about. What is a Smosh?
It's like the Honest Trailers guys. Do you know?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I think it's Smosh. It's gotta be Smosh.
I,
Yeah,
it's
gotta,
that's a
yeah.
Smosh thing, and they give stupid names to all the Pokemon, and they're great.
Yeah,
They're great.
yeah.
Go, yeah, go do that, everybody. Jesse, you too. Go listen to that. I'll go
I
listen
will.
to the Pokemon Go one. Hey, favorite Pokemon. Do that one next.
Okay, favorite Pokemon. Sorry, I got distracted. So I'm gonna say Mewtwo to start out with. I'm gonna list a few. I'm gonna say Mewtwo because
That is so lame. I'm about to mute you right now.
I know, and I knew. See, I knew I'd be like, oh, go ahead and.
But
pick
did you
this
catch my pun there?
OP,
I'm
whatever.
about to mute you.
Yeah,
Mute
you know,
you.
I did.
I'm
but
just
I ignored it.
interested. I've never heard anyone say that's their favorite Pokemon, so I'd love to know why.
So it is because of the first movie, which I
Okay.
watched
Okay,
over and
that's
over.
fair.
Okay,
Yeah.
me as a kid, I watched a lot of stuff that was like sci-fi. I liked a lot of stuff that was like sci-fi, like genetic experiment type stuff. I was obsessed with. This is a creature growing in this test tube thing. Like I would put my action figures. I had this like thing that was basically like a giant test tube. I'd put action figures in there and then be like, oh, this is my genetic experiment. Like the whole like Frankenstein's monster, like creating stuff. There's an episode of Gargoyles. I loved Gargoyles. There's an episode of Gargoyles.
Yes, Gargoyles.
Okay, there's Cold Stone that they create that's like
Yes.
the amalgam of a bunch of gargoyles and a cyborg and all this stuff. So Mewtwo fit into that with me, especially when he had the armor on that was like the control restraints, like all that stuff. It
That
just
armor is sick.
plays into stuff that I'm still super into.
Okay,
with,
I retract
like,
the negative things I said. I'm a dick, and I'm sorry.
So that's why it's more of just like the idea behind what Mewtwo is.
Mewtwo in armor is pretty cool. No other Pokemon is donned out in armor like that. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, and it's like Winnie the Pooh armor because he's still
He's full Porky Pig in it in that
armor. so there's that. But okay, so then for normal stuff, and I thought about this. I know I liked Eevee, which I know you guys have some strong feelings about Eevee, even though I know Jesse also has art of evolutions.
Even though.
Because I love the evolutions.
That's okay.
Let's set the record straight. Eevee is only good to me because he can turn into.
Shut your damn mouth right now.
8 different things.
Well, we don't need to go down this road again because you guys have already covered. But that's what I was going to say. Again, my experience is pretty much primarily with just the original 150 and anyone else that like showed up early on, like obviously 151 and Togepi, like 176 or something like that, but shows up in the prehistoric Pokemon episode, whatever. Anyway, I did some research on stuff that I did remember, so I'm not just throwing this out there, but whatever. Anyway, I liked Flareon for whatever reason. That Flareon was my favorite for a while, and I remember, I don't know why. I guess I just thought it was a cool looking.
It's
like,
Pokemon. I don't know if you have to have a real strong reason, right?
Well, you know,
whatever you
Vaseline
gravitate toward.
cloister.
The
I also had I had an awesome Jolteon card, so that was cool. So I had a little. So yeah, I guess I liked them. Vaporeon was cool too. And then starter Pokemon, I thought about, okay, who would I choose? Because I didn't really play the games. I had my brothers had like Gold, I think, that I played off and on once in a while, but it wasn't something I was railing around.
That's one of my
Gold,
favorites. I
Silver,
love
Crystal. That's a great gen.
I mean, I probably played it for like would play it like 5 minutes at a time when I would be hanging out with them or whatever. But I think I like Bulbasaur because again, I think I liked whatever reason the whole like that's gonna open up on your back as you evolve and now you have a tree growing. I don't know. It was cool to me at some point.
Yeah. He's
the onion frog dog,
yeah.
which I love that Sean says.
He's got whips, so you know, if you want to talk about, we're talking about
a little bit of a dominatrix thing going on too. I like that. Yeah.
I love that. I can respect that.
I remembered the other thing I wanted to plug, and it wasn't a plug, Jesse. It was just an idea. Instead of me showing the same gameplay footage every single week, because I never record and capture my gameplay footage because I play it on the Game Boy Advance, I thought, hey, we should find somebody that has Pokemon art, and we could just slideshow through the pictures during our podcast. One or two artists cast or something like that. So if you have Pokemon fan art that's PG, you'd like it to be on our podcast, you should holler at us.
R-rated X.
We
just send the R-rated ones. Just DM those to Jesse on the social media.
Right, please DM those directly. If you can hit him while he's at work on his work email address, holler at me. I'll give you that. But no, I would love to, Jesse. If you don't hate the idea, instead of my repetitive game footage that I've shown the same footage like 6 straight weeks now, we could put some art up.
No, that would be great because I was supposed to be helping you with that, and I have really fun.
Well, I play it on my Game Boy Advance, so I'm not going to record footage from my Game Boy Advance. Like, that's not how Pokemon works. You play Pokemon on the go. So that's my plug, and I'll mention that in the comments as well. I won't take any more episode time from it.
All right.
That's
our segue?
That was as good as I got, yeah.
Are we jumping to the Squirtle Squad?
Let's.
This gang of water Pokemon hooligans in a weird Western-themed community. Well, I've got a summary if you'd like to hear it.
I would love to. I've been dying to hear it.
So here comes the Squirtle Squad. So, of course, our gang of heroes are again just wandering around because they have no sense of purpose of where they're headed. They end up falling in a hole, surprise, surprise, of which the narrator is remarkably glib about the potential of pitfalls.
That's
and
bitch.
Our gang, yes, the very smug bitch narrator, tells him to watch out for pitfalls. And we get this beautiful moment where you expect to see Team Rocket's devious faces staring down at them, but no. Surprise, surprise, it's a gang of Squirtle, all wearing sunglasses, which is an amazing, weird thing that's happening, but I love it. I'm very into it. So they end up falling down this hole and eventually are captured by the Squirtle Squad, who, thanks to Pikachu being an electric type, can send them packing because water types aren't going to do very well against them. But after Team Rocket gets captured by the very same Squirtle Squad, Meowth is able to trick the Squirtle Squad. Tongue twister. Is able to trick the Squirtle Squad into believing that Meowth is, the head cheese or whatever, and he controls Jesse and James, and he convinces the Squirtle Squad to work with him to capture the gang, Misty, Pikachu, and especially Pikachu, of course. Ash is able to convince them to let him out so he can go and get some medicine because Pikachu gets severely injured. He ends up in this really bizarre Western-themed town that Team Rocket is stealing from. And this whole... I'm getting distracted because this whole episode is so bizarre to me. But Ash gets the medicine. He makes it back. Turns out Squirtle Squad were just joking because they were really on Ash's side. They were not trustful of Team Rocket. In the end, Team Rocket ends up trying to blow up both the gang and the Squirtle Squad so they can get away with Pikachu. But fortunately, Ash and the leader of Squirtle Squad work together to not only send Team Rocket once again flying off, but Save Pikachu and Squirtle decides to be one more starter Pokemon that Ash did not choose, and somehow remarkably decides to go off with him at the end of the episode. And now Ash has all of the starter Pokemon that he missed out on. And I'm trying not to be biased in my summary, but I'm so annoyed about so many things. And that's the end of the episode. Someone else say something before I go after all the things I'm agitated about.
Number one, Ash, when he's at the beginning of the episode before they fall in the hole, Ash is humming his own damn theme song. It's just one of the most baller things I've ever seen in this
Which
show.
the narrator calls out. The narrator calls that and makes the pitfall joke.
I was like, is he actually...
This show is very self-aware. I mean,
is,
that's one neat thing about it. It's very aware.
It is. And then I don't want to take up too much more because I want Tyler to have plenty of time to give his input. But I do like this is another episode, another starter Pokemon that comes with Ash voluntarily because he's trying to buck the
3 in a row, guys.
Trend. He's trying.
These are 3 episodes in a row. Bulbasaur, Charmander, Squirtle. Check.
And even next week is not. Even next week's is not so bad when you think about it, but we'll talk about that one next week. So, Tyler, tell us about all the shit you saw in this episode.
Yeah, you go first.
I just had a lot of thoughts. I think this may have been one of the episodes that I saw when it was first airing or something like that. And I have this very vague memory of possibly thinking that Squirtle's eyes really looked like that because this is when they're introduced and they have like at least the circular ones. It's like, oh, and then they pull off the sunglasses, which I hate those John Lennon sunglasses. I'm like, they're not intimidating at all. They're all like
at least the main Squirtle's got like biker gang sunglasses.
He's got the sunglasses. That's my other comment is he's got the sunglasses that every anime character has that I'm like, that's just really popular in anime. I'm like, it's used all over Gurren Lagann for one thing. But like, I don't know anyone actually using those sunglasses. I'm like, I think that those were maybe something that people had in the 80s, but I'm like, that stuff's all over anime. Okay.
When I was a young child, I had a pair of sunglasses that were similar to that, but the parts that went over your ear, like the actual earpieces, were like neon green, and they were shaped like lightning. They were shaped like it was amazing.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic.
So it was very 1995. You know what? I'll go to my mom's house right now.
That would be good. Go ahead and pause this. And
I'll be right back in
be much better with
this
12 hours.
This bizarre Pokemon gang. Like, what? Because they have there's a whole sequence that shows, once Officer Jenny shows up again and talks about them, it does the whole sequence of like them graffitiing, terrorizing the town. It's so like how this is another one of those moments, and I hate that this comes up in every fucking episode, but how sentient are Pokemon that they are like forming criminal syndicates?
Well, they're just, it's not their fault, Jesse. They were abandoned by their trainers.
Oh, right.
All these terrible trainers.
Somehow, only Squirtles.
All I know is
only Squirtles end up in this town.
Desert.
I know that it's troubling to me that my dog, when he sees other dogs, his first inclination is to like pee on them and bite their legs. And in this show, we have animals forming organized criminal, not empires, but they clearly have a run of the town.
Yeah, they're in control. But also, and this is something that I'm really curious about. What is like the relationship in Japan between like a gang and also the Western? Because, and I don't know how much of this was done for like for like America's benefit, but there were so many Western themes in this episode, from the like a showdown between two individuals, the whole like shop side by side, with a narrow street. Also, is this town like fucking sponsored by the NRA? Because everyone
they're all pointing their guns at him.
They let themselves get robbed by Team Rocket, who has ice guns or whatever
A flower petal gun.
Exactly. I'm like, it's
They
not
call it
even
an ice gun, and it's literally flower petals. And then Ash walks in, and there's 8 rifles pointed at his face.
Like, what are they?
Yeah, that one housewife bitch has like a Glock in her hand, and she's holding it up. And I'm like, God Almighty!
And Ash
Also,
Ash handles it so well, though. He's like, "Oh, hey guys, I'm not with them." You know, like he's like kind of nervous.
well,
ish.
no,
should
Officer Jenny has to hop in and say, "Put your arms down, everyone." It's
because
so
of this
bizarre.
12-year-old child wearing his baseball cap
This
backwards.
is one of those weird times though where like so in Japan at this time, like all like weapons and stuff have been confiscated because they live in a society that's better than the United States. So like so like I guess guns are just more prevalent to come up in media, however. So it's very just interesting that like everyone in this community just locked and loaded.
Maybe
I'm
that's why the
surprised.
idea of like a spaghetti western is interesting to them. Like all these people are just running rampant with their own.
That's
personal
what it feels
firearms.
like. This whole episode feels like a spaghetti western. That's exactly right, Sean. It's a spaghetti western.
It was so jarring.
Which is
to me
Japanese
that
love.
that they pull out guns. It's just jarring because they do this whole thing to establish that Team Rocket. Oh, Team Rocket's not using real guns, even though they use explosives and
In
everything
the
else
next
all the time. But oh, they're
episode,
not
to
using
be
real. Yeah,
assholes.
they're like they're not using real guns. These are just ice. It's fine, and they're not even ice. They're flower petal confetti something. It
Yeah,
doesn't actually do
I didn't
anything.
get that.
But
Did we miss a joke or something, or is it like bad translation? Like, why did they call it an ice gun and then it literally shot leaves?
that's I
Just
think it's,
I don't know. You
I think
probably
it was an ice gun. They're made.
I couldn't figure it out.
I don't know.
I
It was
can-
pink. It wasn't icy, but whatever. It's fine. I'll get over it.
It's got to be
I
one of
probably
those
won't.
things that
I'll probably lose
like
sleep.
they had rules back then about how much they could do. I have. You know what? I'm just going to talk about that now because I don't think you guys have talked about this
Go ahead.
in previous episode, unless I forgot it. Okay, can we talk about how for the localization, because they had to make it less Japanese because kids wouldn't want things that are Japanese, they renamed rice balls jelly donuts.
They're jelly
and
donuts. That
eclairs,
pisses Neil
and-
off, yeah.
Rocket's sitting there eating. Okay, have you guys talked about this on the podcast before?
Just a bit
No,
with Neil,
not
but
really.
I also
Not
had to
so
mute
much.
Neil that episode a few times for saying outrageous things.
Okay.
Yes. Very
Briefly.
weird.
So I've done a little bit of like watch video. I haven't done research on this. I've watched videos where they've talked about this and the
I call it
localization
research.
issues. Well, yeah, the issues that they had back then. Well, I mean, I didn't research for this. It was stuff I already randomly knew. So yeah, they had to rename it because apparently kids couldn't understand the concept of rice balls. Never mind that we're going to talk about tofu in the next episode, which, by the way, when I was 8 years old, I didn't know what the hell tofu was, but I think I could understand what rice in a ball was more than
110%. My Arkansas family had I could bet I would bet a large amount of money that no one in my immediate family from Arkansas has ever had tofu.
I have
But
never
they've had rice.
tofu.
I understand.
Dawn has never had tofu. There you go.
But that's next episode. I'm just saying, like, it's a problem that like they had to change that.
I
But
love
also,
it in the next episode. It cracks me up, that whole motif. But next time. Yeah, come back next week.
you guys have talked about ignore that thought because I just totally lost my train of thought. I was going to talk more about rice balls.
Well,
I forgot what I was saying.
Let's say,
but, you know,
well, let's go after the food thing because I even though it is just a cartoon, quote unquote, and I hate that when people say things like that, but continuity issues where, you know, poor James and Meowth want something other than pizza, which is very, very funny to me.
Yeah.
And, you know, James asked for Chinese food and Meowth's like, how about tacos?
Yes.
And eventually Jessie is like, you know, she's like, no, we have to be concerned about mission, blah, blah, blah. And then she pulls out a picnic basket that is filled with, oh shit, we already have 10 minutes left.
We talk
She
a
pulls
lot.
out a picnic basket that has sandwiches in it. And I don't know. It's a very minor quip, but I was annoyed.
But, I mean, translations at that point in time, I mean, even still today, dubs and translations, video and across media, just, you know, they weren't perfect.
And that's what I was going to say is that they were so limited in what the rules were back then because they had to make things less Japanese, but they also had to make it less violent. So that's what's shocking to me because you guys have talked about YuGiOh before, and Yu-Gi-Oh, they had to completely edit out all mentions of death and all guns. So all guns were like can just change to people pointing fingers. So the fact that they just throw these guns in after establishing that it's an ice gun, I'm like, I don't understand these rules.
It's shocking. I was really surprised. I guess the next episode for next week, I know I've seen. This one, I really don't remember seeing as a kid.
I definitely saw it because Squirtle cracked me up.
I was shocked.
I didn't remember the guns part, but I'd definitely seen it because it cracked me up. Real quick, final thoughts. I'm going to give one final thought in the episode, and then each of you give your final thoughts, and we'll jump to the next bit. But I wanted to note that it's like I didn't get the Goldeen thing either. Pikachu falls in the water, and it's like, hey, you guys know what Pokemon sucks in the card game and in the actual game? Goldeen. Well, we got to get Goldeen.
Goldeen does not suck. Fuck you.
The inconsistency in that made me mad.
It's Goldeen wrecks Pikachu out of the water despite the fact he's a water Pokemon, and then wrecks Ash out of the water, who also should have died, just like Brock should have died a couple weeks ago. And, I'm sorry I said that about Goldeen. I didn't mean to offend Goldeen or you, Jesse. My apologies.
I was just bothered by the fact that Pikachu gets completely wrecked on the brink of death, and that's the threat for this whole episode. And then Ash gets the same horn in the butt after falling off this giant rickety bridge, which, by the way, how did they get to where that cave was in the first place? Because then he's got to go through like the bridge and he trips and falls on his face and he falls in a river. And then he's like hobbling into town with a walking stick and all these terrible things that are happening to him that I'm like, how did they, I don't know how, and how did Ginny ride a motorcycle out?
They came to the bridge and then she's like, oh, dead end, and then they went somewhere else, but they don't really address it. They just show up in the next scene next to a cave, like, well, cave runs over the river, don't worry about it.
Who doesn't love a horn in the butt?
But obviously Pikachu didn't, but Ash was fine with it.
Ash recovered quickly, absolutely.
I'm not surprised.
Interpret from that what you will.
My final thought, I think, is Super Potion and how it bothers me, because I'm like, oh, so there's this thing that they should just be keeping all the time, because there's absolutely Nurse Joy should not have a job, or her 1,000 family members, because all they need everyone just needs a Super Potion. There's no reason for Pokemon Centers. You just need a Super Potion.
Wait. If you play the games, there is a reason for Pokemon Centers, because sometimes you can stock up on all the potions in the world and you still get your ass kicked, and then you get sent back to the Pokemon Center. But yes, you're right. Normally, like, a good Pokemon trainer has got like a shit ton of those in their backpack and they're ready to go. But sometimes, Elite Four, you use all of them in a desperate bid to win, and you black out and have to go back to the Pokemon Center. Sometimes it happens.
I'm both a tight ass and a hoarder, so I can like vividly remember the first time I was playing any Pokemon game, and you'd pick up a potion, like, well, I'm not going to use that. I'm just going to walk back to the Pokemon Center. It's free, and I keep doing.
Oh, I did not do that. I was like, finally, use it.
Well, then finally, because I played a lot of JRPGs where I had to be more conservative, and so then finally I used like a Super Potion mid battle, and bring somebody back from the brink of death to full power, and I'm like, why have I not been doing this? Live and learn. Live and learn. Jesse, is there any manga crossover to speak of whatsoever?
Not that I found in this one, but of course I'm still reading my way through them. I do have one last thought about Ash.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's okay. Ash in particular, two things. First of all, we get like 0.5 seconds of Gary Oak.
He walks out the door and he trashes Ash with the door. He
slams the door into Ash's face and doesn't even notice Ash is there, which is great.
I had to rewind it to make sure it was him.
And then later on, when they're fighting Team Rocket and Pikachu falls, Ash is a 10-year-old, and I know that anime is amazing, but Ash runs straight down a cliff face. He runs straight down a cliff face and then like bolts out to catch Pikachu. And I wrote down, wow, very impressive. I was just like, wow, look at you, Ash.
He's basically he's in Naruto. He came from Naruto.
Remember that he tripped on a pebble earlier and fell on his face.
He literally
while running on flat ground.
Yeah. Well, in that case, final episode thoughts, final manga thoughts. Tyler, final game thoughts. There's really not a good comp for this in the game, other than that
There's not.
eventually you do stumble on all starter Pokemon.
Right.
That's about
No
as good
matter
as we
which
can
game
say.
you play, eventually you stumble upon somebody who, for instance, in Let's Go Eevee or Pikachu, you stumble across multiple people who are like, "Here, have this Pokemon I found."
You
You're
want to
like,
trade my
"Oh,
Charmander
thank
for your
you,
Magikarp, and you're like,
thank
is
you."
this a trap?
Yeah, exactly. It's something ridiculous, but you are able to end up with all of them, which is very different than the original series of games where it was very hard to get all of the starters. Um, at least it was for me, but I'm not as good of a game
I mean,
player
it
as
was hard, but they did put them in front of you. Like, it wasn't like a hidden thing that you had to look for. You just a little perseverance.
I felt like they were hidden to me. I
Maybe
don't
maybe
remember.
they were. Maybe I've got such thick memories of the GBA game that I don't remember how hard they were in the original game. That's certainly possible.
I feel like they were impossible. I had my starter Pokemon, and I was lucky to have that Pokemon, and that was it. Except you could still find, like, if it was red, blue, or green, you could still find Pikachu in Viridian Forest. But
Yeah, Pikachu's
the
just kind of everywhere.
others you could not find. At least I couldn't. And I had no one to trade with because I was all alone.
Yeah, I was too far behind the times to have like if I when I was playing on the Game Boy Color and I was playing the originals, like everybody else was already on the Game Boy Advance. So I
Back
feel
in the
you.
day.
Back in the old rural homestead, since we're talking Western themes.
Real quick, what happened to the other Squirtle? Because their boss abandons them apparently, and we don't know what happens to them. Do they just
They're
continue to wreak havoc?
they're firefighters. They become the town firefighters.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they get jobs at
Yeah,
the end.
they get kimonos.
Oh,
They get these like kimonos that
you're
I
right.
and then they say they're the town firefighters. There's a lot of stuff in this episode that I wonder if is actually
Yeah, what did
what
they
it
actually
really
do on the
was.
Japanese side? Because the kimonos were, when I say suggestive, that sounds sexual. That's not what I mean, but suggestive of something different than a
Yeah,
firefighter.
it was like the closest thing we can think of is these are firefighter jackets. But also, okay, let's talk about how Ash is the smartest person in this episode because he's the one that suggests,
That's
"Hey,
never a
here's
good
water
sign.
gun to put out this
I
forest fire."
hated that. I'm so glad you brought that up. He's like, wait a minute, I've got an idea. I don't know. I went into
No
Keanu
one
Reeves
else
mode
can
there.
think of that. I'm like, is Brock just because Brock is Brock or Misty or somebody like they're all nobody says
And Brock's like,
hey,
I only know
that's a
rock
good idea.
Pokemon.
She has 6 water Pokemon in her backpack.
I know, and they're just like, yeah, it's fine. We're just going. What are we
But
gonna do? Oh, Ash is a
but
genius.
there's an episode somewhere down the line. I don't remember what it is. Maybe it's like with Blaine or something, where Brock uses Graveler. Like Graveler's like hauling dirt to put out fires, or Graveler or Geodude or something. Like, so they learned like, oh yeah, we can use Pokemon to be useful. It's great.
With Blaine, yeah, it's in the volcano, and they're trying to prevent it from blowing up.
You know how you use Pokemon to prevent volcanic eruptions?
Yeah,
Oh
naturally.
yeah,
Yeah, naturally.
of
Well,
course.
I think though, well, that's Here Comes the Squirtle Squad. Not a particularly exciting episode. Um,
Let's give it interesting. Let's give it interesting.
yeah, it was interesting though. Thanks, Tyler,
Hey,
for
thanks
this
for having me.
week. You're welcome.
And Tyler,
Sean,
yeah, absolutely. Tyler is going to be back next week as well when we'll talk about episode 13. Jesse, it's a pleasure as always. I will not insult you when we open the next episode. Tyler,
we'll
thank you
see.
so much for joining. It's going to happen. In the meantime, this has been PokéMalarkey, episode 12. Here comes the Squirtle Squad. Thank you all very much, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.